Equal pay for equal work? People with disabilities deserve to make at least minimum wage, but legally, some employers are exempt from this. Employment discrimination against the disability community. Attaining employment may be a goal for individuals diagnosed with a disability. Unfortunately, there are many barriers still existing today that hinders the disability community as a whole. Although laws such as the ADA and IDEA offer protections and progress for the disability justice movement, there are still legal loopholes that allow for discrimination. Wages and Fair Labor Standards Act, otherwise known as the FLSA. So what is the FLSA? Enacted in 1938, the FLSA is this United States labor law that established minimum wage, overtime pay, record keeping, and youth employment standards. This affected employees in the private sector and in the federal, state, and local governments. Currently, the federal minimum wage in 2018 is $7.25 an hour. Other states may have their own minimum wage that is higher than this, but the lowest limit it can be federally is $7.25 an hour. But unfortunately, not everyone is equal protected under this law to earn minimum wage. So now that we've heard of minimum wage, what is subminimum wage? The FLSA allows employments of certain individuals to earn wages that are at rates below the minimum wage. These individuals can include student learners, as well as full-time students employed by retail or service establishments, agricultures, or institutions of higher education. Also included are individuals whose earning or productive capacity is impaired by a physical or mental disability, including those related to age or injury, for the work to be performed. So this is all laid out in Section 14C of the FLSA. According to the Department of Labor, Section 14C of the FLSA authorizes employers, after receiving a certificate from the Wage and Hour Division, to pay sub-minimum wages, less than federal minimum wage, to workers who have disabilities for the work being performed. The employer determines the sub-minimum wage. This is designed to protect the loss of employment opportunities for those individuals, according to the Department of Labor. So does that statement even mean? Protect the loss of employment opportunities? The mindset behind this phrase is that it is not worth it for employers to pay an employee with a disability minimum wage, and that people with a disability should be grateful that they are offered any type of job opportunity, even if it pays a shamefully low wage. So who can even apply for a certificate from the Wage and Hour Division? One of three entities can apply. So you can A, be a firm with at least 500,000 annual dollar volume of sales or businesses done. B and C are more likely. So the second one is a for-profit or non-profit firm engaged in the operation of a hospital, nursing home, group home, public or private schools, or a school for children with physical, intellectual, developmental, and psychiatric disabilities. And then you could also be a federal, state, or local government agency. So now that you understand what that is, let's move on to sheltered workshops in the disability community. So what is a sheltered workshop? A sheltered workshop is a facility or institution that provides employment to people with disabilities, under the stipulation that workers will be paid sub-minimum wage. The purpose of these workshops was originally to be a transitional stepping stone for a person into integrated employment within the community. The reality of this, though, is that only 5% of sheltered workshop employees move on to integrated employment within the community. At a time when employment for individuals with disabilities was unattainable, these workshops did provide employment and meaning to many lives. Although they may have begun with good intentions, it is now time to pay workers at least minimum wage, regardless of disability. Regardless of the level of skill required for a job, it is still meaningful work within that organization that needs to be completed. So why would you pay a worker less than minimum wage to do a job that needs to be done? Sheltered workshops promote segregation from the community, which can be isolating and further perpetuates the stigma that people with disabilities should not be able to work a real job. So, some challenges within these sheltered workshops in regards to social justice. First and foremost, since employers can legally pay employees sub-minimum wage, that is a clear exploitation of people with disabilities. Arguments in favor of these work practices may say that since they're providing employment in a safe environment, then it's okay. But in reality, it segregates them further from the rest of the community as a whole. Sub-minimum wage reinforces the idea that a person with a disability has less value than an able-bodied worker. So these graphics say, end Section 14C sub-minimum wage equals discrimination. We are not a commodity. And this other diagram says only 5% of a disabled people in sheltered workshops ever leave jobs for the community. So now let's take a look at the different models of disability. Section 14C of the FLSA and sheltered workshops mirror the minority model of disability. In this case, the conditions of segregation, discrimination, and subordination of people with a disability are similar to other minority groups. In our histories past, we have paid people of color less, women of less, and of course, unfortunately, people with disabilities less than they deserve. Not only this, but a person with a disability can belong to other minority groups as well. So, as social workers, we should try to move towards a community-based social model of disability. The social model of disability puts focus on societal barriers in place, rather than the disability itself. So in this case, the societal barrier would be Section 14C of the FLSA, as well as the workshops. So using the social model of disability, we can advocate as social workers for our clients to move towards inclusion and community-based jobs for everyone, regardless of disability. And on a macro level, there should be push to do away with Section 14C of the FLSA. So, to wrap it all up now, some social work principles that we should follow while working with this population is the strengths perspective. We should empower clients who wish to be employed within the community and be focusing on the strengths that they have. And most importantly, we should be an ally and advocate for clients with disabilities to join the general workforce and earn at least minimum wage if that is a goal of theirs.